comic book fans everywhere. You are now listening to the official Crossover Comics Podcast with your hosts at JJ's Comic Stuff and at Longbox Entertainment.
What is going on, everybody? You are listening to the official Crossover Comics Podcast. My name is Jeremy. I'm here with my co-host, as always, Michael, a.k.a. Longbox Entertainment. And we've got a guest today to talk about a very specific series in DC right now, and that guest is Hillbilly Comics. What's going on, man?
Nothing much, man. Happy to be here. Excited to talk about this series. This kind of came out of nowhere for me. I was not expecting to read this as soon as I did, and was not expecting to enjoy it as much as I did. So
that was going to be my very first question. What brought on this random idea to read this series? Because I've seen these books in stores, I've heard about these books, but the covers never appealed to me. Like, it never made me want to pick up a copy.
I guess it was kind of my idea, right? Like,
yeah.
So, funny thing, I recently just bought these books, man. Like, literally a couple of days ago. And I sent a message in the Discord. I was like, hey, have any of y'all ever read Fables? Like, I just found these volumes. I've never read it before. Like, what's the deal with it? And Hillbilly, he had a message. He said that, oh, I found like volumes 1 through 3 at my Ollie's. And I was like, oh, cool. So like me and Hillbilly, we like private message each other. We set up a little drug deal. We was like, hey, hey, you get me volume 3 and I get you, volumes, what was it? Like 4 or 5, something like that.
So I think it was like, I thought I would been able to find volume 3. I haven't been able to. I'm going to check another Ollie's tomorrow. But I found volume 7, and then you found volumes 4 and 6.
Yes.
And so, yeah, it's pretty much we got it to where we're trying to get it to where each of us has volumes 1 through 7 minus volume 5.
Yeah, yeah.
That one's like, you can get that one like Amazon in stock trades. Like, it's not difficult to find, but still, like, yeah, Ollie's Bargain Outlet on the East Coast. You find a bunch of these volumes for like $2.99, $3.99 a piece, like as much as a new comic issue.
That's not bad considering how hard they are to find.
Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy. So I was just like, and then randomly, like everything just started, like all the puzzle pieces started coming together. Because then JJ, you messaged me and you was like, hey, any ideas for this weekend's podcast? And I was like, bro, I don't know, but I really want Hillbilly on the show.
That really was the conversation too. Like, we have no ideas, but we know who we want on.
yeah. It was either you or Loco. I was like, I want either one of them on the show. I don't know what.
I suggested the idea for both, but then he said that might be a little too chaotic.
Yeah. I was like, that's gonna be we'd be talking for like 3 hours, bro.
I was saying the software doesn't allow that long, so
right. So I was like, well, I know Hillbilly has Fables. I have Fables. Let me see if JJ has Fables.
And I did not. I didn't have any except a couple random issues that are like issues 14 and like 80 something or something like that. You know what I'm saying? And so I had to get on. I was looking at the DC Unlimited or Infinite app or whatever it's called now. And it's finally doing a 7-day free trial of it. So I was like, bet, that's perfect timing. So I just went on there and got that. And I just got done reading issue 5, like, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes before this podcast.
Dog, I'm going to be honest. I finished the last page while you were doing the intro.
Dang, I was the only one punctual. I finished this book like, I don't know, like,
hey, I told you ahead of time I was going to have to, get a hold of them because I didn't have access at the time. So
it's true.
I had a reason.
Hey, when you said that you would figure it out, I was like, JJ's got it. He said he would figure it out.
I said I'd figure it out, and I always figure it out. If I say I'm going to figure it out, I'm going to figure it out. And if I can't figure it out, I'm going to find someone else who can.
Facts. But yeah, guys, Fables. by Vertigo.
What
Written by
a twist
Bill.
on fairy tales, man.
Yes,
Crazy.
dude.
I'm learning every day that Vertigo is not an imprint to sleep on.
Not at all.
I got introduced to Vertigo as early as 2022, and it is not something you want to sleep on.
Yeah, man. Honestly, this year has been like my first year really diving into Vertigo comics, because before that I've only read like a couple of like Constantine stories and like Preacher, and that was it. So this year
Preacher was
I've
good,
read
though.
Preacher is
Sidebar.
good. Yeah. Preacher is good.
I think I read one volume of Why the Last Man, and that's been about it
I
until
haven't
this
read
year.
that up. And reading Fables and Sandman this year has been like life changing. But so Fables, for our watchers and our listeners, it is written by Bill Willingham. Yeah. And artwork by Lane Medina. And I want to say, like, the artwork in here is really, really nice. It's like that classic.
It's very crisp.
Yeah, very Vertigo-esque. Because I noticed that Vertigo artwork looks very similar. Like, they get certain artists to do Vertigo.
Like when you go into like a drawing class in high school, that's the style of comic book art that they show you and try to teach you.
Yeah,
because it uses a lot of like the 3-point perspective stuff. It uses a lot of like very tiny lines and straight edges to make everything look 3-dimensional.
Yeah, and it's that era too of like the late 80s into the early 90s where they're still using that like classic style of penciling.
But actually, it came out in 2002.
Really?
Yeah, Fable.
Wow.
The first issue came out in 2002.
Yeah. It has that style where it's like that transition period to where it's a very classic pencil feel, but the layouts and the way they were playing around with different kinds of layouts and borders and paneling.
That's honestly,
super experimental.
Until right now, I didn't even know it was from 2002. I thought it was from the 90s because of the artwork and everything. So that blows my mind.
I've got the app open in front of me, so I've got.
But yeah, like Longbox said, it's very much that Vertigo style that they became known for.
It's very
and they
dark.
were doing this kind of stuff. It was very crisp artwork. It was darker styled, but like, what's the word? It gives me like a gothic feel to everything in the books.
Yes. Yeah.
And not like gothic, like dark and, black hair and lipstick and all that good stuff. I'm talking like actual like European Gothic architecture types vibes.
Yeah. But it's like pretty too. Like even with the covers, the covers are really nice. They're like painted almost.
Yeah, they almost look like oil paintings.
Like the funny thing that me and JJ were talking about before we hopped on was the fact that the covers, they don't look as enticing. Like if I were to see these at a comic book store, I wouldn't necessarily pick them up.
No, yeah.
There's nothing on them.
If you're a reader who picks up new things based on how the cover looks, this doesn't look like anything.
No.
You look at it and it's like, okay, somebody did some kind of fantasy book, it looks like.
Yeah. That's it. That's it. I would be like, oh, this doesn't interest me. Why would I pick that up? Like, yeah.
But then you get into it, it's like a really good detective story.
It is. It's almost to the point where one of the characters, who is Big B Wolf, who is basically
I'll say we'll go ahead and just give everybody spoiler warnings. We're not going to sit here and try to
from a series that had its 20th anniversary.
If we don't spoil anything, we won't have a podcast today, okay, guys?
Yeah, there will be major spoilers for the first 5 issues of Fables. So yeah. Bigby, he's the big bad wolf, basically. And he's like their sheriff of the town, which is Fable Town. Because the whole thing about Fables, these mystical fairy tale characters. There was like a war or something that happened in the old lands. They don't really like go into
they go more into it in like issue 4 and 5. They definitely explain it a little bit better. It's basically what happened is like the fairy tale stories, all of those had their own little kingdoms and worlds where they actually existed in this story, and somebody they're calling the adversary came in and conquered everything, and all these characters had to escape into what they call the mundane world, which is our world. And they're like they've all taken regular human forms if they weren't already human characters. So like the big bad wolf just looks like a scruffy detective.
Yeah. I love it. And speaking of like the whole mundane world, I love how they call regular people Mondays.
Mondays, yeah.
It reminds me of Muggles.
Yeah. Oh man, it's so good. And basically, like in this story, you get like all your classic, fairy tale characters. We got Snow White in here. Just don't mention the 7 dwarfs. She doesn't.
Yeah,
like
apparently that's a touchy subject. They didn't really explain that.
They didn't.
Which is something I'm super excited to read forward and find out about. By the way, because like
I want to know what happened with those 7 dwarves, man.
Bro,
that was in like the first few pages, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's when she's talking to Beauty and the Beast.
Right after she was introduced.
Yeah, because it was Beauty or Belle had mentioned it to her. Which is another funny
but they
thing.
weren't calling her Belle, though. They were actually calling her Beauty in the entire book, which was interesting.
Yeah, I think they were treating that as like her last name, which I thought was interesting.
Yes.
So what, Belle Beauty?
Like, yeah, I guess. And like Beast's last, like they're calling
name is just Beast.
They're calling him Mr. Beast. So I guess if Bill Willingham ever decided to file a copyright strike or something, like,
I wonder how that would work.
Right.
I don't know, because the characters are public domain, but I mean it's his book and like his nickname. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, true that.
But
I don't know.
Honestly, that was the funniest thing ever. I was reading that and that scene with Beauty and the Beast, and I was talking to my wife, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this comic is so crazy." Because I was telling my wife, I was like, "Babe, hey, you know how in Beauty and the Beast, the curse of the beast, and how you have to have one true love to get rid of the curse and all that stuff, right?" And I told her how in this comic they're having marital issues. So because of that, their love is a little on the rocks. So now
so whenever she's upset with him, he starts reverting back to the beast.
Yes.
And his teeth, fun fact, his teeth apparently grow faster than his mouth does when that happens. So he can't even talk right. I was cracking up through that whole part, dude.
It was so funny, man. He was like, "My key, I can't remember my key." And
the way they lettered it was perfect. Like I could hear it in my head,
Yes.
And that's what was even better about that was while all this is going on, like Snow White's just sitting there like this is normal, and basically just tells them like,
right, just sitting there like, "Oh my god,
y'all got yourself into this."
Bro, I love Snow White's energy. She was literally like, "Y'all need to figure this out, because if not, your ass is going to the farm."
She reminds me of the DA from NYPD Blue.
Okay.
I'm not familiar, but
I've seen that.
It's a cop show, but yeah,
it's a cop show. Yeah, very like straight
if
to the point.
If it ain't Psych, I don't watch it. So
yeah, it's a great show too.
Yeah.
Oh man, honestly, Snow White. I really like what they did with Snow White. She is just one of those like strong female characters.
They did that with a lot of the female characters in this series. I noticed, like Cinderella is sitting there fencing with Bluebeard.
Yeah. Yes.
And like winning.
Yes. I was like, they made Cinderella a badass.
Yeah. And that's something that was super cool about this too, because when you hear, like, I guarantee you, half the watchers, half the listeners, as soon as they heard Lombok say strong female character, I guarantee you some of them probably rolled their eyes.
They probably
because in a lot of ways that trope or that it is very stereotypical in media, especially when written by a man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so Bill Willingham in doing that and like actually making them strong women without taking away like all of their femininity and everything like that, which is a common drawback of the trope, was genius.
And also, like, you know, a lot of, especially like fairy tale characters, you know, their husband will cheat on them or something, and they'll forgive them by the end of the story, and they're back in their happily ever after. You know, no, Snow White caught Prince Charming with her sister and said, "Nope, you're done."
Yes,
like immediately.
Which we find out more about him too, and he's an interesting cat.
He's a douche. He is a super mega douche.
Oh man, he is the worst kind of guy, bro. Like,
he is the kind of guy I actively avoid being friends with.
So, you know, in his introduction scene, I was like, wait, why is this conversation? Because, you know, with the waitress, I was like, why is this conversation going the way? I was like, is this his power? Like, is this his, like, enchantment? Is like...
But then, you know, they say, "Oh, Prince Charming." It's like, oh, that's his whole thing, is he can charm them all.
He can charm. But he's just not that guy. He's that guy that, like, in the real world, he's that guy that always has a girlfriend and he, like, bums off their couch. That's Prince Charming. Ain't shit. Don't got a job. None of that.
Gets his girls to buy him all the nice clothes and the trips and the cars and the food and the wine and the
yes.
Yeah, and we see that so early on, because the waitress that he's talking to, he's like, "Yeah, you'll get this, right? Like, I didn't bring any money to pay for this food. Like, you're gonna pay for this, right? Like, I'm planning on dipping out. Like, you can come with me."
Right?
If you
She's
want.
like, "Well, it was gonna be me paying for it anyway, so."
Yes.
I'm like, how does that work? Only somebody with the name Prince Charming could make that work.
Dude, literally, he's like, "I'm not paying for this food. You're gonna take care of this." And then the fact she was just agreeing with it, she was like, "Yeah."
Took him home, and then he dipped before morning even happened.
Oh, bro, that was so funny. He went, you know, they had a little shag session and was gone. That was a funny scene too.
Or you could see, like, the way they drew that. You could see the people in the next room with their ears pressed up against the wall.
Right? Yes.
Like, wait a minute.
Like, oh my gosh, it's just so funny, man. That was such a funny scene.
There's so many, like, little, like, blink and you miss it moments in this. Mm-hmm. That are just absolutely hilarious.
Oh man, I love.
Like, did anybody notice that it was Little Boy Blue helping spread the blood all over the recreated crime scene?
Oh yes,
it was Little Boy Blue and Flycatcher. Randomly, like, some of the characters they pulled out are like, I had to look up some of these characters because I didn't remember.
Yeah,
I still didn't get to look it up. I still have no idea who Flycatcher is. They explained it a little bit, I guess, but I had never heard that one growing up.
Yeah, I still haven't heard that one either. Like, I looked it up and I'm like, I don't recognize this at all.
I guess Disney decided that was too far for somehow.
Yeah, right. You know what's crazy? It's like, so just so that way our listeners are tracking, because we did mention Little Boy Blue and the whole crime scene. So the way the story starts off, again, spoilers, because I know some of y'all don't be forgetting. Spoiler. We get Jack from Jack and the Beanstalk. Classic story. He like runs into Bigby's office, right? And he's like, something terrible's happened. Like, you need to come with me, blah, blah, blah. And he goes with him, has Snow White, because Snow White is the deputy mayor. Something like that. Like, she's not the mayor,
operational
she's like,
supervisor.
Yeah, she's
basically
like that, right?
head of the fairy tale government.
Yes.
Yeah,
Under
she
the king.
She runs it, but she's not the figurehead.
Yeah, because King Cole, he's like the top dog, and she's like under him. So they go and find out it's Rose Red's apartment, who is Snow White's sister, which I didn't even know. I had to look up that whole thing.
I would say, is that a thing? I don't remember that from the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs story.
It actually is a thing. It's a separate story.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
I had to do some research on that too, because I thought Rose Red and Bigby Wolf, I thought, it's like you got 3 pigs.
Red Riding Hood, yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah,
Right. That's what I was thinking too at first. And
which I hope they
so
bring her in eventually, but that wasn't it.
We did get a little tease of Red Riding Hood.
We got a one panel of Red Riding Hood, but it was during a flashback.
It was
back to the old lands before the. So I'm wondering if Little Red Riding Hood's one of the characters that just didn't make it.
Didn't make it out. Yeah.
I mean,
because you notice we've only seen one of the 3 little pigs after the flashbacks.
That's true.
Because he was sitting there arguing with Bigby.
That is true. That was a funny scene. Oh my gosh. I hope people watching, we're going to be like all over the place, like talking about this story. Hopefully
there's no way to structure this conversation in any kind of chronological order just because it's so chaotic.
Because it's like we're being introduced to characters for the first time, but it's characters that we've known for our entire lives.
Or at least known of.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel
it's like our exposure with these characters is kind of in like a circular timeline, so that's just how the conversation's going to go.
Well, and I think it's weird because like I feel like as the generations go, less and less people are exposed to these like nursery rhymes and fairy tale stories, unless they're in movie form.
Yeah,
true.
Whereas when I was real little, my grandpa still had like the old fairy tale books, so he would read us those, and those are way darker.
Yeah, I like to think that the
like most of the Disney stories in the actual fairy tale books, they don't have happy endings.
I refuse to, like, I know how it goes, but I refuse to actually read The Little Mermaid.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
We won't get into that. That's a whole other thing. If y'all want to see a stark contrast, go watch The Little Mermaid and then go read The Little Mermaid. 2 totally different stories.
But yeah, so in the story, right? Catch our listeners up. So, big murder. Who killed Rose Red? That's the whole big thing. And our boy Bigby is on the case. He's their sheriff, so he's going to solve this. And I just want to say this. After reading this story, Bigby Wolf is a better detective than Batman. Because, bro, it took him not even 5 issues to solve this whole... He already had it all pieced together.
It took him an hour. He solved it in issue 1. We just didn't know it yet. There was like one missing piece that it took him 4 issues to figure out.
And the way everything went together when he explained everything at the end, I was like, yeah, you're right.
Actually, no, yeah, it was 3 issues because he had everything figured out by issue 4. Issue 5 was the explanation. The entire thing
issue 5 was
explanation.
literally the entire last issue of the first story arc of Fables is Big Bad Wolf just going over how he figured everything out and what happened.
Yeah.
And it is some of the most skilled detective work I've ever read in a comic book. Like, wow.
Yes. Oh, man.
And he didn't have no flashy tech, no scanners, no analyzers, no nothing.
Bro, it takes Batman...
Most of that he solved with his nose.
Issues just to do what Bigby did. Like, bro,
Batman writers take note.
take note, bro.
Bro, imagine Big B with prep time. That's all I'm saying.
Bro.
I swear we bring up prep time in every issue of Crossover Comics.
We do.
Like somebody brings it up every time we do a podcast.
Yes, I think we should make a video where it's like snippets of everyone mentioning prep time.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
So
yeah. Bigby's that guy. The freaking pig. I love the conversation with him and one of the three little pigs.
But yeah, so basically Big Bad Wolf goes through, he figures out that not Little Red Riding Hood, Rose Red is basically has faked her own death
Yeah.
in order for her boyfriend, Jack from Jack and the Beanstalk, so random, who apparently is a freaking menace to society because nobody likes him.
Hold up. The reason I'm jumping way ahead. The funniest thing to me about this was she had to fake her own death because he lost money in a .com investment.
Bro, yes. I'm like, this man ain't got his finances right, bro. Oh.
This man is out here. Rose Red. Only Bill Willingham could write Jack from Jack and the Beanstalk to have basically a crippling gambling addiction, and me be like, yeah, that tracks.
Like, didn't seem out of character at all for some reason.
At all.
It really didn't, because in the original story, remember he sold the cow for those stupid beans.
That's
It makes sense,
Which
bro.
apparently he has scammed numerous people over the centuries with fake maps to his magic beans that are still gone.
Bro.
You know,
Yeah.
Big B even said, "You lost those centuries ago. Why do you still?"
Why are you still? Yeah. Oh man, Jack is great, and the fact that Jack has a spin-off comic with just him, I was like, I need to read that because I know
Yeah.
it's gonna be wild.
Oh, it's
God.
gotta be. Considering all the things that they were describing that Jack has gotten away with over the years, like.
Bro.
And
he
speaking
is a
of gotten
menace.
away with, apparently there was this event in the story which they haven't really gone over a lot yet as far as the first 5 issues, but they go over this thing called the Great Amnesty or the Grand Amnesty or something, where
yeah,
basically
basically,
all the
cutoff
fairy
point.
tale characters were forgiven for all their crimes committed in fairy tale land.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah,
the
it's
Big
like
Bad
a
Wolf
diplomatic
was...
immunity of sense.
What is it?
I said it's kind of like a diplomatic immunity in a sense. Like
Yeah,
everything.
in a
that
sense, since
happened
they're all political
before
refugees,
this
technically,
time.
like...
Yeah. Yeah. That's why
It's like they gave themselves immunity, which is kind of weird because it's like there's no one there to hold you guys accountable except yourselves. But you got to give yourself immunity, like. But I guess if you think about it, like the Big Bad Wolf was in numerous different stories and did horrible things to all kinds of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you look at Bluebeard, he butchered all of his wives in every time they had a wedding night.
Bro,
you know,
that was wild. I was like Bluebeard is a menace too, man.
Oh, everybody is. Everybody is. That's the thing. Even Snow White, she wasn't a menace before she got there, but by God, she became one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, she gets stuff done now.
At the end of it, when they were figuring out the punishments and everything, she was like, "Yeah, I think I have a way to make everybody equally miserable."
Yes. That was
And
great.
they were like,
wow.
"How does this
Wow.
help me?"
Woman.
She said, "You get to keep your
Yes.
freedom and your head," which means they do have capital punishment in Fabletown,
Yes.
which I'm sure is not the last time we're going to hear about it.
Dude, the fact that I love that ending scene with when she was talking to Prince Charming.
Mm.
Oh,
Yep.
that was a great scene. Like she literally like, I was like, yes, Snow White, you Get him, girl.
Right, like there was no even temptation to go back to his ass.
Yeah.
Oh, none whatsoever.
She just said, "All right, yep, okay, now we're all done here. I don't need you anymore. Go away. Like, go away."
Yeah.
Oh man.
Find somebody else's sister to hook up with.
Right.
Right.
I mean, he could have stayed with the waitress.
The waitress was down for the cause. I don't know.
Right. She was bout it, man.
Like, dude. But I don't blame Rose. I would have left too. I would have tried to fake my death because Bluebeard was definitely gonna kill her.
Oh yeah.
Bluebeard. He wasn't even going to consider it. He wasn't even going to consider it. Honestly, though, if I'm Rose, I wouldn't be with Jack after that either.
Bro.
Because he done proved he's dumb. Like,
dumb as hell.
And that's the thing. The one time he got lucky, too. So towards the end, I know, guys, again, we're talking in circles, but towards the end, he, like, Prince Charming meets with Snow White to have this whole thing where it's like, hey, I want to sell my title and all my assets back in Fairy Tale Land so I can be rich here and that some sucker will pay on the off chance that we get to go back.
yeah, like, I really hope they get more into how they all got there rather than just saying we all got exiled. Like, there's got to be way more to that story.
So apparently it was an invasion.
And yes, people, this story is like 20 years old, and we're all just reading it for the first time, so...
Yeah. 150 issues, by the way. So all of this that we're talking about, this is just barely scratching the surface.
Yeah. This is only the first five
issues.
All this happened. Like, so imagine the rest of the series.
Technically,
bro.
we're not even through volume 1. Like,
yeah, technically, yeah.
But, like, Jack ends up winning that lottery that Prince Charming puts on.
Yeah. His
so
one
the one
scrap
time
of luck.
he wins, he still loses because in order
he has to
pay
give it
off
all
his
back.
legal fees, he has to sell it back.
You know the funny
half
thing?
the price.
The funny thing about that, oh my gosh, the fact that Jack, he was feeling himself hard, bro. He was like, yeah, peasant.
Right.
It's Prince Jack to you now. At least he got his one night to self-indulge, though.
Yes.
He did get his one night as a royal. I mean,
bro.
how many people could say they were royalty for a day?
Right.
Even if they did pay for it.
I mean, isn't that how, like, what's his name that used to be married to one of the Kardashians? He bought, like, his lordship.
Are you talking about Lamar Odom?
No, it was the.
I'll say he was an NBA player. He didn't need to.
No, she was with some Duke or something, wasn't she?
It was the.
I don't know. I don't keep up with that shit.
I just know Lamar Odom because I'm a huge basketball fan.
I just know it was the white guy. I don't know. What was his name?
I didn't know they went for those.
I mean, it didn't last.
We might have to edit that out. But it's
Oh no, we're keeping that in.
Yeah. It was. He became like a lord or a duke or something.
I don't know, man.
Oh man.
I don't know, but still, hey, you can put Jack from Jack and the Beanstalk in that category now.
You can.
Yeah.
Because I don't like where these characters are public domain. Does this count as part of their stories?
I mean, because they acted like all their old stories did happen. So technically all that is canon in this story. So I would assume if we're going based off of the universe that they're in, then yeah, this is all, canon to everybody's fairy tale stories. It's just happened hundreds and hundreds of years later after the ones that were written it down.
Yeah.
I can't wait to tell these stories to my future kids and be like, yeah, after Jack came down.
It confused the hell out of them. They go to school telling people about Jack and the Beanstalk and be like, what the hell was he
They're gonna be
talking
like-
about?
Like, yeah, I remember that time he was dating Rose Red. They had to fake her death because he lost all his money in a .com investment.
Right.
Hey,
But you know what? Here in about 20 years, that might be the way they rewrite it. So,
Exactly. The little hillbillies are gonna be like, well, my dad said that Jack was with Rose Red and la 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 la. Oh man.
and most people have never heard of Rose
Snow
Red.
White was a deputy, and Prince Charming ran a lottery, which from the part of the country I'm from, that isn't that far off.
No, that's really not.
It's really not. But
And Pinocchio wanted to get laid.
Badly.
That
He was
page
upset,
killed me.
yo. Like, he was so mad.
Pinocchio. Oh my
I
god.
really
that
hope
was
he
the
runs
funniest
into
thing.
the Good Fairy sometime soon because,
and you
bro,
know
that's
what?
just wrong. How she did it.
Whoever that was on the bench next to him, I hope he runs back into her after that.
Bro. I think that was Cinderella that was talking to him.
Good for Pinocchio.
Oh man.
Bring that joint full circle, Bill Willingham. Hey, listen. I don't know if y'all know this. Fables came back for another 12 issues.
Yeah, I
It's
heard
currently
that.
being published from DC Black Label, I think. Or it
I
might
heard
just be
about that,
DC.
yeah.
If that didn't happen in the first 150 issues, Bill Willingham, if you see this, let Pinocchio age up and run into Cinderella again. Make it happen.
Be like, hey, what's up?
Make him find the fairy. Well, maybe that even happens. We haven't read all of this yet, so
Pinocchio,
all we know
I'm
is what
shipping
happens
it.
in the first
I'm
5
shipping it.
issues.
I just know Pinocchio was like, it's on sight when he catch that fairy, bro.
He was so upset.
That was so funny, bro.
But can we go back to like why dude, these covers take like the most minute scene out of the book and make it into the cover.
Yeah.
Well, that's like
Yeah.
the cover for issue 1 is Bigby's human form climbing out of the wolf skin.
Yeah.
With Snow White standing behind him eating an apple.
Yeah.
With the apple. And then the pig is in the tree.
Right, like the first cover is just so random you don't even know what you're looking at. The second
they got, like,
cover,
a
that
variant
is a
cover on the back,
one-page
too.
scene.
Now that
in
is
the next,
Vertigo. That is Vertigo right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But issue 2's cover is Cinderella and Bluebeard fencing. That was literally half a panel, or like half a page. And then you go to issue 3. The cover of that is the granny pouring tea. She was literally in 2 frames. Cover number 4 was, it looks like it's Beauty and the Beast in their dress and tux.
Looks like
They were
it.
shown in one scene, in one panel of that book.
Although that kind of looks like Rose.
Slightly, but I believe it's
Kinda look like
supposed to be...
Rose. I think it is supposed to be Beauty and the Beast, but it
The
wouldn't
only
shock-
cover
Oh, yeah,
of the
that is
first
Beauty
5
and the Beast.
issues that makes any sense as far as like overall grand plan of the book is
issue 5.
issue 5.
5. With
Because it's Rose Red taking her black wig off. Like,
Yep.
or trying to keep it on.
Yeah.
You can't really tell what she's doing in that one, but
I'm sorry, Rose definitely do drugs, bro. Like, look how zoned out she looks.
100%. 100%.
well, it does say, like they say multiple times, that she likes to party with Mundies. So
Yep.
No, yeah, she
Oh,
definitely.
another thing.
She's definitely.
she likes us normies.
Another thing, I'm kind of mad at this story because it made me do something that I never do, and that's shipping 2 characters together. I never do that. But I really want to see Bigby and Snow White, make this a thing.
He did make a move. He was
did.
just he did it in a kind of half-assed roundabout way.
He did.
Did it with his tail between his legs.
Right, like, come on, bro. It's Snow White. If you're gonna make a move, you're gonna have to make a move. Like,
She used the Prince Charming,
Just
bro.
no
You gotta
fruit.
come with the game.
right. She got
No
saved
fruit.
by Prince Charming and then got eternal youth. Like, you got to step your game up from tricking her into a dance saying it's for work.
Heck yeah. Oh man.
And that's the fact, he had to explain that to her on the last page. He was like, you really don't get it? I said
right, like that one was obvious. It's like, okay, this doesn't have anything to do with anything. They're not talking about anything that has to do with the case.
And she was just like, she was just like, what? And then she was like, oh, nah. Like, she shut him down, too.
Yeah,
he's going to have an uphill battle ahead of him.
Yeah.
Well, she straight said, I mean it, back off. Like,
he's like, okay, I get it.
That's why I said, like, Snow White definitely gives me, like, district attorney vibes from NYPD Blue, because the district attorney in that show is very much like that, like, very don't fuck with me kind of lady, you know, like, very stern, professional, pantsuits, the whole 9 yards.
She reminded me a lot of Karen Page from the Netflix Daredevil series.
Okay, yeah.
Especially where, like, I could see Snow White going up to somebody like Bluebeard, or in Karen's case, Wilson Fisk, and being like, yeah, the only reason I stopped shooting your boy was because the clip ran out.
Right, yeah. 100%. I mean, she came with the one-cut sword.
She did.
Try and save Bigby. She thought he was in trouble, so she came down there with that sword. I forget what story that's from, but it kills with one cut. Like, literally a paper cut can kill you with that sword.
She was slinging that thing over her shoulder.
Just leaning it over her shoulder, right next to her neck.
Like it wasn't none.
Like, what if the power of that sword, like, goes as far as if it cuts a hair on you? It kills you. You know, like, they're not very specific at how serious that power of that sword goes.
I could very well see Snow White in this being that kind of character that's like, yeah, I ain't afraid to die, bring it on.
Oh yeah, I mean, she was definitely down for the whole cause. Like, she was not scared at any point during the whole thing.
I'm pretty sure, like, Snow White and Bigby, they're gonna be like the two main characters we follow throughout this whole entire, like, saga.
Yeah, because Bigby is on the he is on the cover of issue 6.
Bigby is?
Yeah.
Hopefully, I feel like he's going to be that character that we follow through the whole series. Because, like, which, Longbox, you could correct me on this, because I haven't read this other series that Volume 1 compares it to yet, I know, but it's like, it says, Fables is an excellent series in the tradition of Sandman. If I'm not mistaken, Sandman kind of jumps around to different places, but Dream is that one character that you follow throughout.
Yeah, basically.
I feel like Bigby's going to be like that. Bigby's going to be that one character that we follow throughout all of because I think one of the volumes coming up is Animal Farm, which I think is going to be that farm that they go to in this issue, or in this volume. And so whether Snow's there or not, I don't know, but I do think Bigby's going to be that character that we just are constantly following.
Right, and the Animal Farm, it seems like it's the place where they send all, like, the animalistic characters that can't change their forms, but they can talk and they're sentient.
Yeah.
Oh,
but the way they talk about it also, it just seems like it's a prison of some kind, too, so I don't really know what it is yet.
They make it sound like that farm that your parents tell you all your old pets went to as a kid.
Right, but they used it as a threat with Jack and Bluebeard, like, we'll just send you both up to the farm. 100 years of hard labor. Like, whoa, what? Like,
it's like what they do up there, man. But one thing I would say, and of course, I wouldn't be Longbox Entertainment if I didn't say my controversial statement each episode.
But, here we go.
Since you
hold on, let me mark a clip here. Okay.
You gotta mark it. Honestly, since you mentioned Sandman, Hillbilly, after reading this, I feel like I was more engaged reading this than I ever was Sandman. I think Fables is better than Sandman.
See, I would be, like I said, I haven't read Sandman, but I know enough about it from friends that have read it and from research that I've done. I already know it. I know it's not for me. It's not my vibe. It's not my style. It's not the type of story that I pursue. This isn't really either, but it's more so. And so I can already say it's like, yeah, I would read more of Fables before I'd ever really consider touching Sandman.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I felt, because I've only read the first 16 issues of Sandman, and I felt like I had to make myself read those. You know what I'm saying? But with Fables, it was just natural. Like, I wanted to read
Everything flowed well. The pacing was good.
Yeah.
It wasn't too fast. It wasn't too
now.
slow. Like, even in issue 1, a lot of issue 1s with any series, it's either a whole lot of information all at once or it tells you nothing.
Welcome to Smells Popcorn, where I start the discussion.
Want to know some more fun facts?
Isn't it awesome to see some of your favorite content creators and favorite people, honestly, if you follow here on this tab, be a part of this amazing community called the Nerd Initiative?
Tells you nothing.
True.
And it's just a setup thing. This issue 1 actually explained what it needed to without giving you the whole plot right away.
Yeah,
True.
It set up the
fairy
story. That's what they're supposed to do.
Another fairy tale, Goldilocks and the Three Bears. This one was just right.
There you go. Yes.
Yeah.
Great analogy.
Yeah. And it wasn't, like, again, because to, like, piggyback on the statement of, comics doing a little too much, or there's too much, like, expedition, I love that this story wasn't too wordy. You know what I'm saying? Like, it let the art do what it needed to do.
And it just used the dialogue it needed to use.
Yeah.
It didn't have a lot of filler conversations. It wasn't a lot of empty panels and screen and just art for no reason.
Yeah.
I will say, though, where I think this story used that to its advantage was the fact that it was a murder mystery and the fact that it was a detective story. In detective stories, typically, you get a lot of narration. You get a lot of diner scenes. You get a lot of just interrogation.
A lot of characters talking to
conversation.
each other and trying to work out stuff. And it's like,
Talking heads,
okay, that
yeah.
stuff is interesting, but it's a lot easier to watch that happen than read it happen.
Yeah.
That is fair. That is fair. I'll give you that.
I like cop shows because, you see the real-time interaction back and forth. So that's cool. But when I have to read 10 pages of two guys sitting across from each other talking, it gets really monotonous really quickly. Well,
True.
And that was probably my biggest thing with, like, issue 5. Issue 5, where it was almost entirely exposition heavy. I thought it served the story well, but it was like, none of these issues were difficult to get through at all. But comparing them one to another, issue 5 was the hardest to get through for me.
Oh, I agree.
Because
it was the wordiest of the 5, for sure.
It was the wordiest one, yeah.
But I think that was just because they were trying to wrap that story up in a nice, neat little bow so they could start the next story arc. Because I'm not sure what the whole process was when this thing was coming out originally. Because for all I know, they only had it slated for 5 issues at first.
And you know what? That's kind of how it reads. It reads like a mini
Yeah,
series.
it reads like it was a beginning to end storyline, and then at the very end it says it had the question mark for the end or continues or whatever. That
It had
like
a
they
question
weren't
mark,
sure if they were going to get a renewal or not on it, which would kind of make sense because. Well, no, I guess it was a monthly series when it came out. So
this is the end for now.
For now, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe they were like originally. I don't know. You never know how stuff like that goes behind the scenes. There's probably 1,000 different stories, but
I don't know. Vertigo, from what I've read and from what I've seen, did a lot of those, like, arc heavy books where you could pretty much read each arc as like a standalone. Where it would help if you read them in order, but you could read an arc, put it aside for like 6 months to a year, and then pick up the next arc and be perfectly fine.
right.
Yeah.
At least, like, in my limited, albeit Vertigo experience.
Right.
I mean, that's
No, it
kinda-
definitely does
I
seem like
agree.
a pattern with them for sure.
I agree. 'Cause that's how a lot of the Hellblazer comics are like that.
Yeah.
Because honestly, like, John Constantine, he doesn't go through, like, too much character development, you know?
I mean,
So-
how much character development can you really give the man?
Yeah, true that. But
I mean, he's got one shtick, you know?
there are some moments where they do give us some character, like the whole thing, like with his daughter and all that stuff. But for the most
Yeah, but you
part,
can only go over that and rehash that so many times, you know? I mean,
That is
You can
true.
only milk the sympathy turnip for so long until there's nothing left.
But yeah, guys, I feel so since this is actually our first episode reviewing and not really reviewing, we're just like talking about comic. What do y'all?
Yeah, it was
do
like the
y'all-
most disorganized book club session ever.
Yes, it was. I feel so sorry for our viewers. They are probably like all over the place. But
We'll be leaving. I'll make sure to edit in some panels and some pages from these issues, so at least you guys know what we're talking about a little bit. Because this is definitely the most back and forth and all over the place podcast episode we've done so far.
Although, with this being very spoiler heavy, I would hope that, like, if you had a desire to read this story, that you would have read it already and can kind of relate to a lot of this discussion with us.
yeah,
If you don't have a desire to read it, I don't know why you would have watched this episode.
Yeah, I'm not sure why you would have clicked on it.
But we're grateful either way.
right.
I don't know.
just-
I don't see a whole lot of people making it past Longbox's Sandman comments. Like, I can see the comic comments now with the timestamp. Be like, burn your entire collection.
Yeah, they clicked off. Somebody's probably gonna say, "I don't read. I've never read a comic."
Hey,
But,
he managed to skirt by with that Henry Cavill comment from the last episode, so...
Hey, but that Spawn comment, that's what got him. But
just Spawn comment.
I saw more people upset about the Spawn comment than I did the Henry Cavill comment.
just so people know, I read Sandman. I read it. Okay.
Because, yeah, I even had to do a response video to that one guy because he was like, tell me you've never read a comic without telling me you've never read a comic. Because, you know,
That's
me and Longbox were saying, like, Spawn's okay, but the writing's not that great and it kind of is carried by the artwork.
That was hilarious.
And that dude apparently took that to mean that me and Longbox don't read comic books. I'm like, you're especially Longbox, you're talking to the wrong dude if you're trying to say he doesn't read books. Like,
Which kind of brings up an interesting discussion, though, in and of itself, because, like, I guarantee you, the guy saying that, and other people that think that way, that think Spawn is, like, this high form of comic storytelling, grew up reading Spawn as it was coming out. So, like, and it's really cool looking at...
and at the
books
time,
like Fables,
I'll give it credit,
yeah.
at the time, it was some of the best storytelling going on at the time.
Yeah, which, when it comes to stuff like Fables, again, it brings up a really interesting conversation of, like, what stories actually age well and what stories are funded by nostalgia.
Right.
Yeah.
True enough.
That could be a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, I think you just gave us an idea.
I do think about that stuff a lot because I know, like, when I was first getting into comics, I thought Flashpoint was like the pinnacle of comic book storytelling, and I go back and look at it and I'm like, it was fun. Like, Jeff
Right.
Johns knew what he was doing, but he's done better stuff.
Right. Well, and that's like people. How do I want to say this? People act like the writers that are legends now have always been as good as they are now.
Nah.
True.
I mean, even if you go back and look at Neil Gaiman's early stuff, it's not that good.
Yeah.
Nobody's first few things are going to be good. I don't care who you are. I don't care what school you went to.
That's definitely
Nobody's
true.
going to hit a home run their very first try unless you get very lucky.
That's the thing, yeah. If you look at any kind of art form, most artists peak somewhere, and even athletes, in the middle of their career.
Mm-hmm.
They don't do that great at the beginning, and they kind of fizzle out towards the end. If you look,
That's when they're given a lot of new control over what they're doing. That's when they're allowed to get all their creative juices out that they've been trying to get out for the last 10 years, 20 years, whatever it has been. They've been waiting to do it. And then they do it all in like 5 years.
Exactly.
And they put everything out all at once. And then after that, they're just trying to recreate what they came out with.
That's like even the best like musicians of all time. Like
you
Michael
just
Jackson,
described
Bad.
Jeff Johns.
Yeah, Jeff Johns.
Like I said, he had probably a good 5 to 8 years where he was doing amazing stuff. And then ever since then, it's not been bad. It hasn't
would say
been
he
as
had
good.
He had a good like 15-year prime, honestly, because it like if you like Jeff Johns is like that rookie phenom. Like he's an example of that rookie phenom coming in with stuff like JSA, going into Flash, Green Lantern, Justice League, Aquaman, and then after the New 52, he just kind of.
Yeah, I mean, like his Rebirth stuff was good because he did a lot of stuff like right after New 52 ended.
Yeah,
he did some of his best stuff right after New 52 ended, in my opinion.
Yeah,
but
as long as
then,
we don't talk
it's
about
been
three Jokers, yeah, I'm fine.
I wasn't gonna mention that. You already know how I feel about Joker and Batman stories in general right now. So
that and Doomsday Clock. Ooh, let's see how many people are pissed off by saying that.
Yeah, I know a lot of people love Doomsday Clock. I haven't gotten around to it yet because, man,
it's one of those books. Like, yes, it's good, but it's also one of those books that's so highly praised that you overhype if you've never read it.
I didn't think Watchmen was that good when I read it.
Hillbilly, I want to hug you, bro.
I thought Watchmen.
Come here. Thank you.
All right, man. I thought it was good. I thought Watchmen was good.
Watchmen is good, but it's not as good as people tout it to be.
And that's the thing. I'm not knocking it as a literary work.
Right.
I'm not knocking it as a critique on the superhero and comic book, like on the superhero genre, which is what it is. Like, yep. Watchmen is a good book, but I've read comics that I've thought were better. I thought Grant Morrison's Animal Man was a better critique on the superhero genre.
Yeah.
Than Watchmen.
I'll agree with that.
And that's
like I said, Watchmen is just one of those series that once it got big, now it's overhyped.
It was
now
one of the
people
first.
tout it as one of the greatest things that ever happened to comic books. And
my thing about Watchmen,
like, okay, it's probably one of the higher selling stories out there, but how many people go back and reread Watchmen?
I probably will, just because the first time I read it, it was for a class.
Like, that's a dense run, especially if you get the full-blown, like, total collected edition of everything. Like, that's not a weekend read, man.
You get those prose pages in there. I skipped those the first time I read it.
Right.
Watchmen is thick, bro. My thing is, I don't know why people think it's so, like, the characters in Watchmen suck, bro.
I dig, and this is going to be, like, I dig Rorschach,
they're terrible people.
I dig Night Owl to a degree.
Hey.
Dr. Manhattan.
I would say it's sort of like The Boys. Like, The Boys, all those characters are horrible freaking people.
Yeah. No, and
like, the entire character roster of The Boys are horrible individuals. Like, trash humans.
If you even just talk about Alan Moore, the best Alan Moore work that I've read to date.
Yeah.
Swamp Thing. I still need to read that run.
Yeah. I need to finish it. I need to finish it. But
the best Alan Moore is Swamp Thing. I think that's Alan Moore at his top. Was Swamp that and Miracle Man.
I still need to read Miracle Man. I've heard that is so good.
I've read a little bit of it. I haven't finished it. I need to go get another copy of it.
Best Alan Moore ever. Yes.
But I guess we kind of say all that to say, like, Fables is one of those books that so far has lived up to the hype.
So far. 5 issues in, I can see why people are touting this so far.
Yeah.
And that's rare. So a lot of times I'll read something older that people are like, oh, this is amazing stuff. And you read it and it's like, okay, this probably was amazing back in like 85. You know, like this probably was amazing stuff back then. Now it's like, it's dated. Like, not everything holds up.
This is good. This is good though.
Yeah, and it's I've heard, like, I listened to, like, I went on this Fables, like, YouTube rabbit hole last night just to see what other people were saying about the series and everything like that, because I know this is one of those books that, like, fans of the series if you're doing like a 10-minute video, obviously we're doing a whole podcast, so we can't not spoil it. They tend to keep it spoiler free. I saw this dude ranking like his top 10 story arcs in Fables. This was number 10.
Oh wow.
Okay.
So, if what he's saying is true and what everybody else that I heard say on that,
It's
rabbit
just
hole
going to get
was
way
true,
better.
We're in for a treat.
That's what's up.
Good
And
deal.
honestly, yeah, I'm going to be picking up these volumes as quickly as my wallet allows me to.
Well, if your wallet does not allow and you can't find them, they're all on the DC app.
All right, cool.
Oh, and
That's
we're
where
gonna
I
have
found
to,
them and read them today.
I hope you know we're gonna have to do a book club. If we're all,
Oh, at this point, for sure.
If we're all gonna be reading Fables, I mean, I doubt like.
We'll have to start doing it on TikTok too, so other people can join in.
Oh yeah. I would say too, like we should all like try to reunite here again once we're all either to like the halfway point maybe, and then again when we finish the series. So it's like first arc, halfway point, overall.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Because the halfway point would be right at 75 issues, and if I'm not mistaken, that would take us to volume between like volume 9, volume 11.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think it's like 22 volumes in all, something like that.
22 or 23.
volumes, but I think the 22nd volume might just be issue 150 according to the cover.
Oh.
Oh, it might be one of those giant size deals where it's like
Yeah.
64 pages or something crazy.
Because
okay.
I actually, that was another one, and I'll pick that one up for you too, Longbox, if I go back.
Okay.
They had a volume 22.
Oh, okay, bet.
And now that we know we enjoy the series and would want to read past volume 7, I feel like that'd be a safe pickup. But there's just this big 150 on the cover. Like it's smack dab in the middle.
Oh, wow.
Okay, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know, man, but I'm excited. I know
never
y'all
take
are
it.
too, but I'm excited.
Oh yeah, and
For sure.
and now since I'm thinking about it, when we actually do finish the story, I want to have Jess on the show too, because I think she read the whole series already. So it's gonna be compared from somebody that has read the whole series versus 3 newbies
That are just now reading it.
now read it. Yeah. So I think that'd be fun.
That
Jess,
actually, yeah, that could be really cool.
So if Jess is watching,
Which I'm
Sausage and
sure she
Sorcery.
is.
yeah, be on the lookout with
Finish
that.
the series in 2 years.
In 2 years, we'll see you. No, we're gonna have her on for a Wonder Woman episode soon.
Oh, that's
hopefully.
sick.
Yeah, we still got to do that soon too.
I'm definitely going to have to catch up.
But we are about out of time, guys. So if you guys are still listening, you stuck around for this entire episode of Madness, thank you very, very much. My name is Jeremy, once again, a.k.a. JJ's Comic Stuff on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, pretty much anywhere you can find me. Michael is Longbox_entertainment everywhere you can find him, and Hillbilly Comics is Hillbilly Comics everywhere you can find him. Be sure to look up Crossover Comics Podcast on YouTube, Spotify, soon to be Apple Podcasts, according to Cody Collects. Also, make sure you check out Color Break, A-Rock Public Radio, Amalgam Talks, Columbus Underground Comics, Nerd Initiative. Am I missing anything, guys?
I think you hit it all.
Just support your local comic shops if you can.
Always.
Facts.
If not, don't steal it. Try to buy it.
Or get a streaming service.
Get a streaming service. Get an app. Get something. There's tons of ways to read this stuff for cheap. But
If you
anyway,
love it.
guys, as always, be safe, be kind, and take it easy.